Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate the introductions. Thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar today. So today we want to focus on, what the real value behind Solution Manager and some of the common tools that we deploy for customers. So, I'm going to cover the application operations, business operations side, and Meghan will cover the change management side. But initially, I've got a few slides I wanted to talk about, right? The primary mission and what's the role of Solution Manager within your SAP landscape. So, a lot of commonly when I talk to customers, they ask me, what's Solution Manager all about? Why should I use it? What tools are there that really will impact my business and really provide value? So, there's a variety of answers to that, but one of the biggest answers I would say is Solution Manager is meant to be the beating heart of your SAP landscape. It is meant to integrate and communicate with all of your SAP systems from a variety of perspectives, from supporting upgrades to supporting the impact of changes, understanding those impact of changes, supporting the testing required for larger upgrades. So really overall, it's meant to drive continuous improvement around your systems, right? Enable business innovations, enable those significant changes by providing those, lifecycle management tools that are really common. Many people have heard of them, but these are a SAP-centric version, right? All of these tools are meant to be utilized with SAP and were designed by SAP for their solutions. So, really when you look at it, SAP wrote the solutions that your businesses are running on. We should be looking to SAP to provide those lifecycle management tools. Obviously, there's plenty of third-party solutions out there that are great, but SAP is specifically designing them for the solutions they provided to you that you already licensed. So they really are, providing some of the best tools out there. This slide here talks about how the Solution Manager provides that entire lifecycle support from portfolio to project. So that initial determination of a project, the specific solutions you need. So that goes right into requirements to deploy. So our ALM solutions around designing a requirement, right? What is a business requirement? Which specific SAP solutions are needed to support your business? Once those solutions are deployed, we now need to fulfill those requirements. So that's building a system, installing a system, right? Or maybe it's potentially upgrading a system you already have, if the requirement is to upgrade to go to the next release of S4, right? So from there, we've now upgraded our systems. Now we need to monitor them and manage them. So that's our detect to correct. So these are all our monitoring solutions we're going to touch on. So that's monitoring, whether it's technical perspective or business process perspective. Then we have our daily change management processes. So that's also part of requirement to deploy or your enhancements, right? Or your fixes. So this is all where we're deploying changes. So Solution Manager is designed to support the entire life cycle from the birth to the retirement of an SAP system from beginning to end. One important thing to note, surprisingly, many customers aren't always fully aware of it, but Solution Manager is included in your enterprise agreement. Depending on your agreement, you have different capabilities that are provided. So I wanted to touch on that quickly. If you pay for SAP Enterprise Support, you have the full suite of tools from Solution Manager, and they support both SAP and non-SAP, and it includes your HANA database license as well. If you're just on the standard support, there is limited functionality. There are tools like test management and custom code management that are not available if you don't pay for that full support. So next, I wanted to hand it off to Meghan so she can jump into Charm, our change control and release management solution. And I'll hand it off to you, Meghan.
Thank you, Jereme. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Jackie, for the introduction. So yeah, my topic for today is the changing control and release management tool that's provided within Solution Manager that is commonly called Charm. You can go to the next slide, Jereme. So I wanted to talk about some of the value proposition points as to why you would want to implement Charm in your environment. So at the end of the day, we need our production environment to be stable. We need to not have any production down issues. We want to maintain consistency across our landscapes. We need to make sure that we have a holistic support for all of our environments. So our SAP, our non-SAP, our cloud-based products, we need a holistic tool to cover all of those areas. And SAP through Charm provides standardized processes to meet those needs. So giving you out of the box processes that are standardized across SAP to mitigate those changes. And also you can customize the tool. So it exists in your solution manager based on the tools that are built in there, but we can change it to meet your needs specifically. And we have a lot of experience in doing that. Go ahead to the next. So common customer situations today that I see doing these services a lot are they have production impacts. They have changes going into their production environments on a whatever schedule. They have nothing defined, so it's kind of willy-nilly. So in that, we can see some things that may not have been properly tested can impact your production system. It can cause a production down during the business day. That's millions of dollars being lost. A lot of customers have tons of ongoing projects with conflicting timelines, overlapping timelines. So there's not a clear picture of these timelines and how these changes are being moved across the systems into your production environments. A lot of clients use multiple tools, like Jereme mentioned. There are a ton of third-party tools out there, but in those third-party tools, you also have licensing fees. As Jereme mentioned, if you're part of the SAP Enterprise Support, excuse me, you have Solution Manager already wrapped into your maintenance fees that you pay to SAP. So it's everything that's built into Solution Manager comes to you without extra cost. So you also, a lot of clients are requesting changes through emails, tracking them in spreadsheets. There's inconsistency in the visibility of the changes that are being requested and implemented across their landscapes. We have also seen poor testing practices without a clear defined idea of what is going into these environments. How do we know what is proper to test? How do we know what areas are being impacted with the changes? So within Solution Manager, in addition to change request management, we have a whole suite of testing tools that are available for either setting up manual test case tracking, or if you want to set up some automated test scripts. We have those tools incorporated into Solution Manager. So the driving force behind Charm for me is a visibility to what is impacting your system, the history of the changes. A lot of clients don't have that audit trail when the auditors come down and ask, what changes did you implement in the last 6 months? Clients have to scramble and find emails and find spreadsheets and find SharePoints. There is no central location. So that's where Charm comes in. Go ahead. Excuse me. So some of the key components for Charm to mitigate all those issues we saw on the prior slide. So we have Charm allows us to control the changes that are being requested, the changes that are being implemented. It gives us an opportunity to plan out when we're implementing these changes based on whatever strategy you need to. So is it based on risk? Is it based on urgency? We can create and plan different timelines for your different projects. It gives us the ability to execute those changes as well in a clear, defined, controlled manner, giving us the ability to maintain consistency across our landscapes. So we have multiple environments, not just in production, but we have dev, QA, staging, production environments. We need to know that the data we're testing in QA, the environment we're testing in QA, is a representation of production. So how do we control those systems? How do we control the consistency across those landscapes? We have a lot of tools that give us the opportunity to mitigate the risk that we have with implementing changes. Not everything goes according to plan. We need to know ahead of time before we make a change what risks are going to be an outcome of this potential change. We need traceability. We need visibility to the history of that particular change that's being implemented. And we need an audit trail. So CHARM gives us all of these key components within a single location. So we need, visibility through the whole life cycle of a transport or a whole life cycle of a change that's being implemented to your system. So is it a new program? Is it a new user exit? Is it some new functionality? Is it a support pack? I mean, it can be a whole lot of different items, but we need to know everything that we can about it so that we have our main goal, which is production stability. Go ahead. So as I mentioned, Solution Manager gives us this centralized hub for all a slew of different tools within it, not just with CHARM itself, but with Solution Manager CHARM, it gives us a central hub for all of the changes that are requested from your business, all of the changes that are being implemented, all of them that are being tested and imported into production. It gives us the best practices for implementing these changes. So it's not a willy-nilly defined customer, legacy change control environment. This is SAP tells you, here are the best ways to implement these changes across your landscape. Here are the ways that we have defined and tested and deemed this is how you want to maintain production stability, follow these guidelines. And we give that to you out of the box with CHARM. It gives you multiple ways in the planning and execution of those changes. So how to, different options for implementing those changes across your landscape. So what is your release strategy? Gives you a couple different ways to do that. If it's going to be a waterfall release cycle, or if it's going to be more of an agile methodology. It gives you also a way to get visibility into your resources. So how do you know what your developers are working on? How do you know if your developers are overtaxed? So it gives you an ability to know ahead of time and to make sure that you assign the proper documents to your developers so they know what they need to be working on and you have visibility to that. It also gives you, as I mentioned, with the change administration integration, so it gives you visibility to the requests that have come from the business through the life cycle and implementing those changes into production. Go ahead. So how do we maintain consistency across our landscapes? We know that we need to make changes to our environments, but we want to have a controlled process for that. We want to track the changes from start to finish, and we need to know the strategy and have a predefined strategy for getting those changes implemented and tested. SAP provides us with, CHARM provides us with job-controlled imports to our QA, to our pre-prod, to our production environments, so that we are no longer relying on an individual to trigger these imports to production, so that you don't have a cause for user error. And we also have more visibility, and notifications of the failures or issues. So instead of waiting on the developer to go and test and find out that his transport failed to import, we have a visibility to the job. And the basis individuals will get notified via email if a transport did not import properly. All of that is out of the box, provided to you from CHARM. And the risk mitigation that I mentioned before, so we have all these changes going into our environments, and we have multiple developers across the globe working on transports. How do we know that their work is not being impacted by someone else? How do we know that developers in China are not being impacted by developers in Germany? We need to have visibility to the changes being made to our systems, especially in a global environment. And so we have that met by these risk mitigation tools. And these are out of the box from SAP. It's something called cross-system object lock, DGP. So potential downgrades. Are any of my changes going to overwrite someone else's work? We have a cross-reference check. Is there anything missing in my transport? We have critical object protection. And we also have a retrofit tool, which allows us to control a dual landscape environment. When we have two environments, one is being upgraded, we want to make sure those changes are synchronized across those landscapes. SAP provides us with those tools. Go ahead. So I mentioned before the traceability, having a history of these transports. So we need, I prefer the holistic view of the changes made to production. I want a single location where I can see from start to finish, soup to nuts, what has been done in my environment, where the development began, when those imports occurred to the QA, to the staging environment, and through CHARM, the document itself, and through the administration tools, we have this centralized monitoring of our landscape, keeping a running history of the impacts made to our environments, giving us the end goal, as I've mentioned a few times, which is production stability. So we need to, instead of jump through 6 different screens and spreadsheets and emails and end users clicking basis guides, importing transports out of order, we have the traceability. And I've used this in several different cases when a customer has emailed and said, we're getting this funny error in our system, and I can use CHARM, having not touched their system in multiple years, and I can find the cause of the issue with the tool and point it out to them and show them what has happened. And that's pretty powerful. And that goes in hand with the audit trail. So for each change that is made or requested, excuse me, we have a centralized location, so what's called a CHARM document, where you can view who the requester was, who has made the approval on this change, if there's what the business case or what the impact has been designed or defined, excuse me, for this change, what developers are associated to it, the testers. They can upload their test results right to the document. We can also integrate with those test tools that I mentioned before, which are part of Solution Manager, so our test suite. And we also can incorporate a digital signature, which we have done for a couple clients that are FDA regulated and need to have a digital signature process. One of our clients in particular needed to move away from their entire paper trail process that they have, and they are a global company. They have a lot of different processes, and we have been marrying together processes from the United States and from the Middle East to align everyone to one standardized process, to give them everything that they need in all of those different paper trails in one location within CHARM. And we utilize standard out-of-the-box CHARM to do that. There are a few customizations that we've made. Digital signatures exist already in Solution Manager. We're just incorporating them into their documents. So there's no need for that paper trail in the future. Go ahead. Some more visibility to the paper, not the paper trail, visibility to the changes requested. So this is our change analytics dashboard. This is more of a high level view from the requests that have been made in your environment to the change documents, which are actual. So if you think about program changes, they're made in the change documents. And you can see from a single location in our work centers what our environment looks like, how many requests have been made, how many have been closed, what's the duration. You have more of, you have visibility to all of the changes that are being made in your environment. And my final slide, it's just if you click into each of these tiles that you see in your screen, you can get more information as to what status of these documents, get a little bit more detail of what type of documents are being requested, how many urgent versus normal changes are being requested. So why are there 17 normal urgent changes being requested last week? So, and give you as a manager, a high level view without having to delve into the technical weeds, what's going on in my environment? Why is everything being deemed an urgent, for example, and kind of keeping an eye and keeping track of things. So to kind of wrap it up, the Charm tool I've implemented quite a few of them over my years with NIMBL and before that at SAP, and I haven't met a client whose need we haven't been able to meet. As I mentioned before, we've had FDA regulated clients, so they have GXP changes that they make, and they need to track that with a different validation group. We're able to customize the Charm environment to meet those needs, to meet whatever requests that they can come up with. I have said, maybe I don't know it now, but I'll figure it out, and we get it met. And they're all been very happy with their environments. It takes some time to get used to the restrictions that a lot of clients are coming from, a situation like I mentioned with spreadsheets and emails and SharePoints down to a process and a procedure. But it's wonderful to know that you have a single location where you can look at your system and say, here are the changes that were requested within the last 6 months. Here's all the business cases. Here's all the testing. And you have one location to do that. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan. That was great. Yeah, to continue on with that a little bit. Yeah, we've got many customers that we have deployed Charm for, and they see significant business value. From all of those aspects that Megan talked about, especially system stability. And that's why we included it in the title of our webinar today. Keeping systems stable in a variety of ways, from just managing the changes to understanding the impact to ensuring it's tested properly. So definitely a great tool for all customers that works with all the different SAP solutions and many non-SAP solutions. So definitely another great one. So I'm going to discuss now a variety of different monitoring solutions. With Solution Manager 7.2, SAP rebranded technical monitoring to application operations. So if you're familiar with technical monitoring in the previous version, it's now application operations. So that includes the entire suite of tools that SAP had in the past, but now just further developed and with better UIs, better technology in a few areas, and then a few additional ones. This is a quick list of all of the different solutions, monitoring solutions included in application operations. System monitoring, one we're going to talk about today. Many people use on a regular basis. It's usually the first one that gets deployed. We've got job and BI monitoring. We're going to talk about job monitoring as well. BI monitoring really focuses on BI. So it focuses in on the process chains and the BI queries that are being executed on a regular basis. So very granular and focused on that specific solution from SAP. You have user experience monitoring. This one is all about monitoring from an end user's perspective from remote locations. So a very valuable tool to help give a customer insight into how the systems operate from a variety of locations around the world. So you can understand if an end user is having performance issues, whether it's network or system related, from anywhere around the world, so you can quickly narrow down and ensure your end users, your business users, have the access and the ability to perform their job. Interface and connection monitoring. This one's all about those interfaces between SAP and non-SAP systems. This one is huge for a lot of customers because they have a lot of custom interfaces between either proprietary solutions they've developed over the years, or just between outside third-party solutions. If an interface goes down, really, any one of them is going to mean significant impact to your business processes. Then we've got process integration monitoring. So this one focuses on two areas. We've got PI monitoring. So that's focusing in on PI or PO, same thing really. Your messages or your interfaces that are coming into PI, right? PI is really a central point for a lot of interfaces that translates data and sends it on to SAP or non-SAP systems. So monitoring PI specifically and its capabilities is critical to business operations. So another way to gain insight into the operational stability of your systems or your entire landscape just by monitoring PI. Data readiness is a new tool from SAP. It's really all about the delivery of data, making sure that data that's sent from one place into, let's say, a HANA data store, a HANA database, that centralized location for running BI analytics or any of our cloud analytics software on, has received its data accurately and timely. So it's really just ensuring data flow is happening properly as expected. We've got message flow monitoring, similar to PI, but focusing in on the messages between systems. And then we have, obviously SAP developed HANA, their database used everywhere now. So they've provided specific monitoring around HANA, enabling in-depth hundreds of metrics around monitoring, every little piece of HANA that a third-party solution simply isn't going to be able to do because SAP designed it, right? So moving on, I want to talk about system monitoring, right? What can it do to really provide value to obviously the IT team? Historically, it's an IT solution. It's a no-brainer. It's one of the ones that everyone deploys, but how can it impact the business as well? So, it's really helping you be insightful of the stability of your system. So, how many systems are having performance issues on an hourly basis? So, Java systems can have performance issues on a regular basis, which Portal, right? Portal runs on Java. A lot of people are accessing SAP systems via Portal. If you have performance issues there, you're going to directly impact the business. So understanding the health from a technical perspective is going to correlate to a healthy business. So that's what system monitoring is good at, getting down to the technical details, making sure you understand if any outages occur, right? So if an outage occurs, it's going to have a lot of historical data being stored on those systems around that period of time. And now you can get in there and understand what areas of the system went wrong that could have caused this outage. Giving the basis team, the database teams, right, the networking teams, this data, this information on the system will help them reduce the number of outages. By understanding the root cause of an outage, we can eliminate it from happening in the future. So right there, right? Keeping your systems up and running is going to mean a healthy business, and that's direct impact to the business right there. Also, system monitoring has a unified dashboard that's directly from SAP's terms. So all of the monitoring solutions I went over on the previous slide all have very similar dashboards. So they're easy to consume, easy to train users on, and also very easy to display on large monitors. We've had a number of customers that have come to us about setting up a center of operations where they actually have multiple dashboards. Usually these are the larger companies. The small to medium might not have the budget for it, but it's a great way to ensure you've got a group of people always monitoring your SAP systems or non-SAP systems and ensuring they're healthy and operating properly. The small to medium businesses, a lot of times if they've got a small basis team, they hang a few monitors from the ceiling within where they're all sitting, and they can all quickly look at these dashboards and understand the health of the systems as well. Maybe not as grand as a center of operations where the people performing, monitoring the systems, that's all they're doing. But still, either way, these dashboards really give you insight and allow you to monitor all of your systems quickly. It's just a glance at a screen. So what are some of the primary pain points that system monitoring is helping you eliminate? Obviously, business outages, right? Like we talked, any kind of technical failures. Also, understanding a complex set of systems. A lot of times we come into a customer's landscape and there's a lot of SAP systems, right? You've got CRM, MM, you know, PI, BI, ECC or S4, right? And then you've got a slew of third-party systems, right? It can be very complex. Solution Manager's ability to support both SAP and non-SAP allows your basis teams to really have an understanding of the entire landscape and giving you monitoring solutions around that whole area. So kind of giving you a holistic view of everything. Like I mentioned, the heartbeat of your landscape, being able to connect and understand and monitor all of these different types of systems. Another big one is eliminating manual health checks. We have customers that have a spreadsheet they go through every day, and they're checking a number of different areas, right? Common things, ST22, short dumps, checking the logs, checking if there's any errors, right? Are there any services down? There's a variety of things you can do. Well, instead of paying someone to do that every day, why not have Solution Manager do that for you and send you an email alert if an issue comes up? So eliminating that cost and freeing up your team to focus on other more important things. So I wanted to show a couple slides on the actual tool. So this is that unified dashboard. They're all very similar. This is specifically system monitoring. A couple highlights on the dashboard that are great, right? This is Solman 7.2, so it's based on SAP UI 5. One of the cool things I like is the alert ticker. So this is where, you know, like I talked about in a center of operations or hanging some monitors from the ceiling, you could have this dashboard always up on that monitor, and you could quickly look up and say, hey, right, I've got a system that's got a red alert. Now let's drill into it and find out exactly what the issue is. And then the alert ticker on the right would tell you, right, the most recent alerts that were triggered and when and what specific managed object was impacted, whether it's a database, a host, or a system. This here is a further drill down. So I mentioned earlier how system monitoring is collecting data on all these systems and keeping that historical data. Down below on the right side, you can see that historical data, specifically here for performance of a system. You can actually see day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, however frequently you're collecting data, that specific data set. So whether it's performance or short dumps or backups, right? Any metric that Solution Manager is collecting is stored in VW and then can be displayed on these screens. So if you're wondering, you know, why a system has performance issues at 3 p.m. every day, you can go in here and look at all of the different metrics at 3 p.m. every day and look for a common scenario that could be causing this, right? That's our root cause analysis to eliminate issues that are repeatedly coming up, which are impacting the business. Also, we can understand the alerts that are going on. So there is an analytics dashboard you can see here. This gives you insight for managers, right? If they want to have a high level point of view, they don't want to get down into the details of number of short dumps each day. They want to know the health of their systems and how frequently they go up or down. Obviously, there's a lot of red here, so this isn't what we'd want to see normally, but this is where it's showing us all of the alerts that were triggered. We can be very specific per system. How frequently are they up or down, right? So now we can analyze the health of our systems utilizing that same data. SAP has also provided Fiori with Solution Manager 7.2. So now that gives you the ability to look at all this same data, but on any device. So we can have an iPad, an iPhone, right? If we can expose these services, we can give anyone the ability to see the health of a system remotely from anywhere without a computer in front of them. So just giving you another way to help support your business systems, ensure they're up and running at all times. So a few key takeaways here on system monitoring. right? It's enabling that deep insight into both SAP and non-SAP systems, giving you that historical data, giving you centralized dashboards that anyone can display from any device. And ultimately, I think decreasing the cost and overhead by allowing a system to automatically monitor system versus having manual monitoring or manual checks, right? If we can reduce the cost of the IT budget, now we can invest that money into other areas, more innovation, and more capabilities around supporting your critical business systems. Next, I wanted to quickly touch on job monitoring. I want to make sure we leave some time at the end for questions. But job monitoring, right, has a lot of the key capabilities, but right, what it is meant to do is to allow you to monitor those critical background jobs. Many business processes are completely dependent on regular background jobs that happen every evening, a couple times a week, at month end, at year end. Right? And create service orders or billing documents, right? Without these jobs being successful or running in a timely basis, you will have impact to the business. So job monitoring is all about monitoring those. The ability to monitor any job and ensure that it's operating properly from many different perspectives is the value that it's bringing. Slew of different scenarios. So a job failure isn't the only potential issue for a background job, right? A job could get stuck and run for hours longer than it's supposed to. Many business processes occur step by step, right? If a billing document isn't generated, right, then you can't generate an invoice or whatever the process happens to be. So since everything is very dependent on the next step, you need to make sure jobs are running timely, otherwise you're going to get a backlog. So having the ability to monitor jobs from a variety of different scenarios is huge. There are third-party job scheduling and monitoring solutions out there, but Solution Manager has a variety of key capabilities. And that's what this next slide shows you. I created a quick table showing you all of the different ways of monitoring. So you can monitor for the duration, how long does a job run, all the way to, is it running outside of a specific window of time, right? A lot of times jobs are event driven. So they start when another job finishes. So if a job doesn't run on a timely basis due to another job, you can get an alert. So it's really just allowing you to monitor any potential scenario. And again, we can see we've got that unified dashboard where we can see a specific system, the number of jobs that are in green status that ran successfully or are in error. So quickly you can understand if a system is having any issues with its background jobs. So a few key takeaways for job monitoring. Really, I think monitoring for more than just failures. A lot of customers are focused on just those failures. The ability to monitor more than one scenario, I think, is huge. To be able to monitor the length of the runtime of a job, or also even the ability to monitor the logs within a job. Sometimes a job finishes successfully on time, but it failed to process data. You would need to know when that happened as well. So another great solution from SAP to ensure your business systems are operating properly. So one of the new solutions, not new, I guess, it existed in 7.1, but really completely redesigned. So technically new, I would say. It has been redesigned because solution documentation has been enhanced. There's entirely new user interfaces, and that's the tools within business process operations. Business process operations is actually a suite of tools like application operations. We have business process monitoring, which is monitoring for specific issues within a business process from a business or a technical perspective. We're going to get into more of that here now. But then you also have business process improvement. That tool is very new and completely redesigned. It's really about monitoring the business life cycles and applying your own KPIs against them. So if you have specific business goals to run your business better, right? There's a variety of different thoughts around that. So it's really monitoring the business from a high level point of view, where business process monitoring is down to the actual billing documents and their statuses. Business operations also includes job management, which is about scheduling jobs. So if you didn't know, Solution Manager does have a job scheduling feature as well, which a lot of customers are interested in, instead of paying for a third-party solution to do that. So business process monitoring. I think this is probably the one of the biggest tools that can impact the business within Solution Manager 7.2, because it's monitoring the business itself. It's enabling you to reduce the number of business disruptions by monitoring the actual business process, the actual steps that your end users, your people in the warehouse, right? Any role within the business that's being executed, you can monitor directly from your SAP system, all out of the box from SAP, no additional costs or licensing fees. So really allowing you to respond quickly when there's a business related issue, or even if you just have business users or end users creating documents incorrectly, that would give you insight into mistakes being made. So there's a variety of different insights that business process monitoring can give you. So some of the principal pain points business process monitoring is going to help you avoid, right, is really allowing you to monitor for those critical situations, both technical and functional. So all of those application operations tools, all of those KPIs, all of those alerts that are there can also be consumed by business process monitoring. So if you have a specific interface between two systems that is critical for a business process, you can include that in your business process monitoring dashboard, so that when that interface goes down, you know exactly the business process that's going to be impacted, and you can quickly respond to that issue and fix it. So it's really allowing you to drill in and focus on it. One thing we've found too, when we deploy the solution for customers, it helps the entire team have a holistic view of your business processes. You end up bringing in both the business functional people from a business and the technical, the basis teams, and even the developers. And they all get in a room to really understand a business process so that we can set up monitoring around it. Well, during that process, they all learn how the business is dependent on both functional areas, but then also the systems and the interfaces between them. So from a basis perspective, my experience with SAP in the past was largely basis related. It really allowed me to, doing these solutions, business process operation solutions, allowed me to have more insight into the business and how they're using the system. So for the basis teams at an organization, they're really learning the specific areas, the most important areas, the key pain points of a system that directly impact the business, right? There's some things that the business isn't going to care about, but then there's others that's going to directly impact it, like those interfaces that's sending data between your ECC and a website, right? Or a data store, whatever it happens to be. This here is a screenshot of the business process monitoring dashboard. So we can see here that there is actually the entire business process. This is order to cash. This is from a technical perspective on the swim lanes. It could also be from a business role perspective, but we can see, right, create orders, goes to create sales order, goes to creating a delivery, creating an invoice, after post goods issue, right? And at each step, we have alerts, and we can see here we've got a green, a yellow, a red. So that's signifying that one of the alerts that we created for create sales order actually has a red alert. There's an issue that's been caused, an alert has been generated. And if I were to click this step, I could actually drill down in and actually see what the alert is and what the issue is. So just like system monitoring and job monitoring, all the other monitoring solutions, you've got this unified dashboard that's easy to consume, that gives you a quick understanding of the health of the system, but in this case, the health of your business, not just the system. And I'll put the top here, you can see, right, we've got our business alerts, but then all the different technical alerts I mentioned, it gives you the status of those as well. This is another example of your end-to-end business process with this is our client billing process across multiple systems. In this case, we actually have a custom client enrollment system where the business process actually starts and ends in ECC. So we've got a variety of alerts here monitoring each step and allowing us to understand the health of the business quickly. Just like system monitoring, all of that data is stored as well in BI. So you can historically go back and see specific data. So this is sales invoices created per day. And we can actually see the number of them created per day, right? It goes back to 0 at the beginning of each day. But again, another root cause analysis tool, both for the business to understand the number of invoices being generated, right? And this is where business process improvement could come in. If we could say we want to double the number of invoices we handle each day because we have a backlog, we could set a goal in business process improvement that we want to do 400,000 invoices a day, right? Because we should be, we got this backlog we need to catch up on. So another great way to really understand the business. One customer story I wanted to tell that we sold, that we did for a customer. It was actually this past business process here that I just showed, right? They have a custom scenario that's going through PI. So we have these interfaces between a custom solution, PI, and then ECC. This process had to happen every day in order to ensure that their billing invoices were generated and delivered to their customers every day. Otherwise, they would lose millions of dollars potentially. If during the day, they used to have manually monitoring. They would have people on the team monitoring the business process to look for issues that were normal pain points, normal issues that would come up. Well, in this case, business process monitoring, after we deployed it, found out that the specific job didn't start on time. Because that job didn't start on time and it actually ended up failing, time-sensitive invoices weren't delivered. They actually investigated it, found out by the SD team that there was a missing entry in a table. They were able to quickly resolve that and still get all their invoices out for that day. So by deploying business process monitoring, they were able to quickly discover an issue, investigate it, and resolve it before it became a major issue with the business. So a perfect example of why we want to deploy these solutions to ensure the business is operating properly. So just a couple quick takeaways. Business process monitoring is really, if you're looking for a tool that's going to impact the business and really provide value from Solution Manager, I think Charm and business process monitoring are two great options. Two things that you don't see necessarily done on a regular basis, especially business process monitoring, that you can point out to the business and show that this tool, really provided the value that it said it would and kept your system from going down, the specific window of time. So we've got 5 minutes left for some questions. Hopefully we've got a few questions out there we can answer. Thank you for your time, everyone. I appreciate the time and joining our presentation.